What's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new episode of Hot Gamers Only, the show where we talk about all the hot topics in gaming. I'm your host, Ethan, and I'm joined once again by my co-host with the co-most, it's Hunter. Hey, Hunter, how's it going?
Oh, it's going just swell. This game just lifted the spirits right up, didn't it?
Yeah, it's a real positive game, dude. It's really happy, and oh my god, I can't wait to talk about this game more. This is our The Last of Us Part 2 Spoilercast. So last week we gave our first impressions on the game. If you would like our impressions without having anything spoiled, to an extent, there is a link to the last week's episode. Go watch it because we gave some good opinions for people that are on the edge of buying this game. So hey, go listen. We also talk about some minor spoilers in that. So if you want early game spoilers,
early game, not necessarily minor though.
No, major early game spoilers. Then you can go and check out that as well. It's all up on YouTube and on podcast services. But this week we are talking everything Spoilercast, like literally all spoilers, no holds barred. This is everything to do with The Last of Us Part 2. If you've not played the game, get the fuck out. Unless you really like spoilers, then go ahead, listen in to the real spoilers for The Last of Us Part 2. If you didn't know, you can catch the show every week on Mondays at 5 p.m. UK time, 12 p.m. Eastern. We're gonna have a weird schedule this week. We're gonna have 2 spoiler casts, one on Monday and one on Friday. I'm gonna actually stick to that this week because I forgot to upload the Xenoblade one. Ironically, the Xenoblade spoiler cast was done before The Last of Us First Impressions. We just didn't upload it because Ethan was lazy and too busy playing Last of Us. So I'm sorry, it will be up this week, I promise. But other than that, you can expect other things that aren't spoiler casts every Monday at 5 p.m. UK time, 12 Eastern. Getting on with it, let's just get right into it, I guess. Where do you want to start, Hunter? Where's a good starting point for this game? Because there's a lot to talk about.
Oh man, I don't know where to start exactly. What do you think of it? How's it got you feeling?
Yeah. I'm scared to answer this question, not because it's I feel like it's the unpopular opinion in this case, but as someone who has heavily criticized a lot of Sony's exclusives before, I feel like I'm going to be seen as a corporate shill in this instance, but I really liked it.
Oh, nice.
I genuinely really liked this game. I think the gameplay is, in every sense of the matter, better than the first game. In some sections, I think it's brilliant. I said that it's not as scary. That was until I played the second half, and there's a literal section that just goes full on action horror game.
There was definitely a part that contained a kind of horror game build up to a monster. Yes.
And yeah, the hospital section is just like a straight up horror action game, which I kind of actually really liked. It was my favorite part of the game.
Yeah, it was.
But there are some gameplay moments that are absolutely great, especially in the second half. I think there are some really, really good moments. Story-wise, I was never fond of the... Like, I had a respect for the first Last of Us.
Yeah.
I don't think it's as special as everyone thinks it is, but I had a mutual with... I see why people love this so much. And in the same way that I personally believe that this story... very much in ways is very much weaker and not as solid as the original. There are ways in which the story really did resonate with me more, and I feel like it's extremely weird. It's a weaker story, but it's one that resonated with me and moved me more than the original Last of Us did, which I found extremely interesting.
That is interesting, because, yeah, I think overall, like as an overall package for the story, I think the first game is going to stick with me longer, but that probably comes from the weird way that they paced this one more than anything else.
Yeah.
What
are your overall opinions on the game then?
It was all right. Like you, I didn't think The Last of Us is just a hair's breadth from perfection, of the first one, that is, and also I haven't been on like the hate train for this one either. I just think it's an interesting look at where to take the event, or it was an interesting look at something that could happen in this world with these characters. It
Mm,
is
yeah,
not.
yeah.
It is not exactly the most uplifting thing. When I beat the game, I felt very empty inside, but that's how you're supposed to feel, I think. So,
The way that I feel about this game is, and I feel the reason that God voice crack already. I think the reason that people aren't liking this game as much as a lot of people thought they would is, in my opinion, this isn't the story that people wanted to see from the sequel to The Last of Us.
yeah,
This was not what they wanted, but in a weird, crazy way, I feel like it's the story that needed to happen.
it's the
And
story they deserve.
it's in a way, but I feel like this. There are people that are like, this isn't. I'm like The Last of Us, and let me get this straight. This is 100% The Last of Us.
Yeah.
I don't see how you couldn't.
Honestly, I don't know what you would expect
Mm-hmm.
aside from
This is
this.
100% The Last of Us. But to me, this game, what they did with the characters and what they did with the story and what they did, like just in general, the themes and stuff like that, I'm like, you could not. This is The Last of Us, like fully. The topics that they're exploring, the way the characters are going about it, the world that you're living in. This is The Last of Us. So that the point of this isn't The Last of Us is completely invalid to me because I don't think you can get any closer to The Last of Us than The Last of Us Part Two. It is the same world. It's the rolling story,
Yeah.
but I feel like people just wanted another romp with Joel and Ellie, and that's not what they got. And I say a romp in the most like sarcastic way possible,
Yeah,
right? It's a horrifying experience, but
in
they
the
just wanted,
loosest of terms.
yeah,
Like
um,
they probably wanted that and maybe didn't even want the ramifications of Joel's actions in the end of the first game to even come up. Is how
mhm.
it seems like observing some of this criticism is.
But after playing this game and when I say play, I mean genuinely play. With all the spoilers and everything, I thought this game was going to be bad, right? I thought it was, and I've been turned around on it. This is a story that you need to play. For the love of God, if you're on the fence and you think that the leaks is what are gonna ruin the game for you, don't. Just go and like literally go play the fucking game because
Yeah.
I knew mostly everything that happened, and this game still, in many places, blew me away with what they did with some of it.
Yeah.
Um,
Like if you enjoyed the first game and are on the fence about this one, go play it. If you've liked Sony's first party offering this generation, go play it.
yeah,
Is what I would say.
yeah. Now I'm not saying it's a. I'm not saying it. I don't like this more than God of War or Horizon Zero Dawn
No, not even close.
or even Spider Man for that part.
I might
Um,
like it more than Spider-Man, but like
I like the
it'd
story
be
more.
for
I like this. Yeah, the
it'd be
story and
for
the
different
characters and the acting.
reasons.
Yeah, but the gameplay's a lot more fun in Spider-Man, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But it's just to me, this was the logical step. When
Yeah.
I play this game now, and when it deserves the part two, it isn't two, it is part two. This is the continuation of this story. And now that I've played it this way, I don't see how they could have done the characters justice and go in a different direction. This was the path that I think they needed to take with it. For better or for worse, this game is flawed. The story is flawed.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I don't think this game's a masterpiece. And trust me, I'm sure everyone that's listening right now thinks I am a fucking Sony shill and think it's a masterpiece. I don't. But I feel like because there's so much negativity surrounding this game, I have to be positive towards it
Yeah.
because
Give the credit where it's due. You
I feel
know.
like I have to go overly positive because people are being so overly negative when they haven't even played the fucking game.
Yeah.
And to me, overall, I think it's a great experience that everyone should experience, whether you like it or not. I mean, let's talk about the ending in particular, real quick. We will just go straight to the end and then work our way back.
All right.
This game probably has one of the most unsatisfying endings to a video game I've ever played in my life.
Such is the tale of revenge stories, man.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, No More Heroes 2, a less of a serious game, but also did a whole revenge angle. Let me tell you, they yucked up the ending a whole lot by just making the boss battle really bad rather than yeah.
Yeah. But man, people have a lot of people have said that they cried at the end of this game, and the game didn't get me. It was close in that second to last cutscene with Joel and Ellie. It was
Oh
close.
yeah.
I was like, I'm nearly tearing up here. Like, I don't think they could have given a better send off for Joel and Ellie as characters saying goodbye to each other than they did with that scene.
Ooh, yeah, no kidding. It's rather tragic when with retrospect, but you know.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, from the way that the game had been sitting for you and you'd been seeing these flashbacks and you'd seen that there's been this falling out, you had assumed that there had been no resolution between those characters, right? There was a point where, you see the E3 scene where they're at the dance and it's near the end of the game, and I can't believe that cutscene is from the end of the game, which is
I
kind
know,
of
right?
crazy
I
now that you
was
think
like,
about it.
I think at a certain point in my head, I just kind of wrote it off as I'm just not gonna see that.
I guess it was made for E3. I guess it was just made to
Yeah,
be its own standalone thing. But
but
to have that scene at the end and to have the implication that ever since the hospital, that ever since Ellie went to the hospital and Joel told her the truth, and it had been a couple of years since then, that they had not been on good terms. From what that scene was suggesting was when Joel butted in there, that was the first time they'd had an actual conversation, like an actual conversation between the two of them in years. That wasn't just a formal like "hey" or just like an acknowledgement or whatever. Right? That was.
yeah,
I
it
thought
kind
that
of
that.
implied that.
Yeah.
I kind of the way I filled in the blanks was like they might have smoothed things over a little bit, but it still like was super complicated because it's something that you can't just let go no matter how hard you try. So like I could imagine like she'd try and maybe be amicable with him sometimes and then just other days just
Hmm.
like walk up to his porch like she did and scream at him about being supposed to die in the hospital. Like I'm
Yeah.
like well like when it got to that I'm like this is just something she does now to him, isn't it?
Yeah. No, to me, it was very much a they had not been on speaking terms since then, since the hospital. That I'm going back to Jackson, but we're done. Like
Yeah,
I'm not talking to you. And when we saw that scene and we saw the fucking guy being homophobic, and then Joel busts in and Ellie does the whole "I don't need you to stand up for me. I don't want you to stand up for me." That whole essentially, I don't want you to be solving the problems in my life. Like
yeah,
I can handle myself. And when they showed that cutscene, I was nearly certain. I was like, oh, that was their last conversation. That's why Ellie's been
yeah,
so fucking mad this whole time. Is that's their last conversation. That's the last thing she ever said to him. And then to have this glimmer of what would have been hope between the characters, it very much is a bittersweet moment at the end of the game when you
it
have
really is.
Joel and Ellie standing there, and she's like, "I don't know how I could forgive you for this, but I'm willing to try."
Yeah,
And you just have that moment. You literally have Joel break down in tears. Like you have Joel crying, and you have just that bittersweet moment of the hope that would have been there to at least have the satisfaction that even though Joel's gone, there would have been that glimpse of hope. Like there would have been something still between them. There still was something, that it very much was love that was driving Ellie that whole time still.
yeah, in spite of how she may have felt about him, like it would have been like even if they weren't on speaking terms for 2 years and it turned up that Joel got murdered brutally like he did, she would have still probably done that because, you know, people are
Hmm.
complicated and irrational. She could have thought for as long as she wanted that she was done with Joel, and then, you know, being dead changes things.
Yeah, it very much changed it from it was like you've taken like what are the words that I'm trying to say? It went from the last moment of I don't want you to interfere in my life, and having this basically someone forcibly take Joel away from her, and being a hate of like I never got to basically reconcile with him, and I
Yeah,
hate that hate that Abby, because she took that away from me, to a we were going to write. You've taken away my like essential future with him. Like
yeah,
anything that would have been left, that familial bond that we were going to have, you just took that away from me, and that was the hatred that was fueling her, was mainly of love. And I like how Neil Druckmann has now come out and said that, oh yeah, me saying that the first game's about love and the second game's about hate was completely a fucking bait. Both of them are about love, and it's like it makes a whole lot of sense going
well, I mean, this
and
one's
watching the
still
ending.
about hate. It's just a very love driven hatred.
well, it's how love can lead to the worst things. It's
Yeah,
like some of the worst things that have happened on the planet have been done out of love.
yeah,
It's very much a the darker side of love, whereas the Last of Us One was more of finding the light in the toughest situations, and finding the bond.
yeah.
But no, the ending, that scene's great, but the actual ending of Ali losing everything, and when I say everything, I mean everything.
Even
There
a
is
couple of
like
fingers.
that, honestly, I think that broke me the most. She'd lost Dean, and she'd lost her surrogate son, essentially, right? Her adopted son that she was basically helping Dina look after, right?
Yeah,
She she'd kind of lost um
she
all of
lost
that.
the will
Jackson,
to
yeah,
follow through with the mission that she took upon herself to complete. Even
she lost Jackson. She lost, in a sense, we don't know if she'll ever reconcile with Tommy.
uh,
She's basically and the reason the finger thing got to me was the only thing that kind of she still had any piece of, and they kept playing this theme throughout the whole of it with the songs and everything, was she
yeah.
had her guitar still. She had that musical link to Joel, and the fact that she now can't fully play the guitar properly because she's even lost that. There's
I
it's
mean, she could probably
She could
scrounge up.
still play.
She
She could
could
still
scrounge up a capo or something.
she could, yeah, she could scrap, but not to the same effect as she used to be
Yeah.
able to. Like, even the fact that she lost everything, and just having her, that I can see why people don't like the ending, because you've taken a character that everyone loves and you've given her an ending where, yes, she's still alive, which, by the way, the leak suggested she died, so that
Oh, did
was,
it?
yeah, the leak said that Abby killed her in the end and you
Oh
had to kill
man.
Ali, which was obviously not true.
Yeah,
um
clearly.
but to have her basically lose everything that was herself, every part of herself, she's essentially lost on this journey. What was the cost of trying to seek revenge? It was everything to her, and just having
Yeah.
her just wander off. What's she doing? No
Who
one knows.
knows?
Not even Neil Druckmann knows. He just wrote it that she's. Apparently, there was a scene where, in the original draft of the scene, she picked up one of Dina's kids like toys that are left behind, and she started walking, and Neil was like, write that out because that gives too much away to something that we don't even know she's going to do.
Yeah, like she could go
So
to Jackson and try and find Tina
reconcile with
and
Tommy and
stuff.
Dina and everyone,
But
yeah,
who
or
knows?
she
She
could have
might
just
just
gone
go
on their own.
wandering.
Yeah, you don't know what's going to happen to her, and I think that's um most interesting part. I can see why people hate the ending. I
And
think it's a Last of Us ending,
yeah, I'll be
you
honest.
know.
The ending of the first game didn't do a whole lot for me either. So
No,
it's in line with the series as so far.
the way I described it to my friends was, the thing with The Last of Us is, unlike most stories that have a solid beginning and a solid end, the Last of Us Part 1 and the same with Part 2, it feels like you're just viewing the world for a set period of time, right?
Yeah,
The story doesn't necessarily end when the credits roll. Though those characters' lives still go on in that world, and you're very much only experiencing a small part of it. And I feel like that's very much what The Last of Us One's ending was like, yeah, these characters aren't done. They've got to still live with their lives and stuff like that. You don't get to find out what it is because their lives just keep going, right?
yeah,
And it's the
basically.
same here. We might never find out why Ellie's gone or what's happening to her, but I feel like that's part of it. And it's just, I personally don't have a hatred towards the ending.
No,
I
I
think
don't
it's,
hate it. Like I said earlier, it made me feel empty, but I'm pretty sure that was the intention, and I don't begrudge it for that.
and like I said this in the first impressions, I respect Neil Druckmann and Haley. I'm gonna double check what her last name is, because I feel really bad that I always keep saying Neil Druckmann and then not saying the other co-writer on it. So give me 2 seconds. It was Neil Druckmann and Haley Gross. Thank you.
All right.
But yeah, I think I have mad respect for the pair of them for sticking to what they did and what they decided to do with their story, because
Yeah,
they could have played it really safe and they didn't. And I
yeah, they
really respect it.
chose what they wanted to do and stuck to it, even though they had to know that a lot of people would not like it.
And they, yeah, and they had to. I'm sure Sony took a massive risk as well with it, and I'm glad that
Oh, you
Everyone
see,
just decided,
here's the thing is that I don't think Sony cared because by virtue of being the sequel to The Last of Us, this was
yeah.
going to sell incredibly.
Hmm.
So Sony could have been like, you could be fighting unicorns on the moon for all I care.
I'm sure, but I'm sure they would have had to have at least discussed the whole Joel thing. I'm
Yeah.
sure there was at least a discussion of, are you 100% sure that you want to kill Joel off very early on in the game? And then Neil probably, yes, and we want to do this with his character, which we'll talk about Joel in a little bit. In fact, let's talk about Joel now. I always talked about Ellie. I think Joel was done really well in this game,
Yeah, I mean,
honestly.
I'd say so. They portrayed him in a way that, every time he showed up in one of the flashbacks, it was like, oh, well, it sucks that this is gone now.
I think that's the beauty of the flashback scenes, though, is
Yeah.
people wanted to see Joel and Ellie's live beforehand, but I don't think until Joel was taken away and so painfully taken away by both you as the player and as Ellie, right? I think that's what makes those scenes special. I don't think the museum is one of my favorite scenes in this entire game. There's something about that scene which is just
Oh,
great
yeah, it
in
was
terms of a
pretty good.
storytelling perspective and just from a gameplay, just having fun walking around a museum with it very much was a great bittersweet moment. But I don't think that if you had played that in a timeline and that's just one thing
Oh,
of it,
yeah,
I
if you
don't
had
think
just
it would have made
played that,
nearly as much.
yeah, it would
Yeah.
have just been like, oh, hey, we're doing this. Which it would have been a nice little slice of life bit of a character interaction, which, when done well enough, is good in its own right. But with the context we got, it made it hurt more and feel in a way that, yeah, you probably wouldn't have felt if you had played
But
it
no, yeah.
in sequence.
I honestly feel the thing that they did with Joel, like the way that they did Joel's character arc, and just the way how they handled the lie essentially, the lie from The Last of Us One,
If
right?
I had the chance to do it again, I would.
That's such a
That
good
was
line. Like
that was really
honestly,
good. I was like, he's like, it was like, even knowing that she hates him for it, he's still
yeah,
the
it's
right guy.
literally like that was the bit that almost got me. That genuinely was almost because I was starting to think it was like, oh well, Joel going to be the kind of guy that's like, hey, I'm sorry for what I did and I fucked up, but the fact that he doubled down on it, the fact that he went after all that's happened, if God gave me a second chance to rethink that situation, I'd do the same thing all over again. It's just such a powerful moment for him, and I mean, I
Yeah,
feel like that's what really resonates with Ellie is the fact
yeah.
that he's
That looks
like,
like where the wheels started turning for her, being like, all right, maybe I should give this a chance.
yeah, and it's just like it's just yeah that whole section with Joel. I think honestly, people who are ironically like people who have seen the spoilers and are extremely sad that Joel done and say that Joel has been like
Done
they affect
dirty
like
because
that
they
yeah
killed him
yeah
early.
that Joel's been done dirty. I think Joel's one of the characters that they respected and did best the most in this game. Honestly, it was just the way that they decided to do it, the way they decided to tell that story, and the way they make you feel about Joel because he is gone.
Yeah,
And just watching this all unfold, it makes it all the more heartbreaking as
yeah.
you go through it.
Some people thought that, like, I don't know who would have possibly thought that he would have made it out of the second game alive anyway. So people thinking that he shouldn't have got killed off early because,
Mm-hmm.
he should have been in the game more or whatever. He would have just died in kind of a dramatic sequence that wouldn't really mean all that much after.
He just would have sacrificed himself.
Yeah,
That's what it would have been. It would have just been oh, this is a situation that someone needs to die in,
yeah, basically.
right?
And, or, maybe just unceremoniously get shot, as they like to do. But,
We're gonna talk about that. Yeah, we're
yeah.
gonna talk about
Uh,
that.
but I feel like him being the motivation for this is the best motivation they could have done for this game,
Yeah,
in my opinion. Like, if they would have, as the trailers implied, just killed Dina straight away and had that be it, that wouldn't have been nearly as strong.
I just
And
think
they
that yeah,
show the dynamic with them that existed beforehand and how it progressed, like,
yeah.
worked out really well.
There are many faults in this story that things I'm like, yes, this could have been done better and things like that, right? Where I'm like, it's not flawless, and yeah, I do have my problems with the pacing and the storytelling, but Joel being killed off early isn't one of them for me at all.
Yeah.
the whole thing with Ellie and Joel and just having this connection and this reason to go after it makes it all the worthwhile in that sense of just playing it. Makes you invested from the get-go. And at the same time, it makes you hate Ali. It makes you hate Abby from an early point, which um is interesting because I feel like people are going to be in two camps, right? There are two camps with Abby, right?
Yeah.
I don't know which camp you're in, Hunter, because I haven't spoken to you about it. But there are the
Mystery.
people, yeah, there are people that really hated Abby when she kills Joel, right?
Yeah.
And then over the course of playing as Abby and realizing her intentions and realizing what she's been through and everything like that, you actually learn to like her. And I'm one of those people. I really like Abby by the end of this game. I really like. I was one of the people that like, fuck this. I'm not gonna like someone that killed Joel. Fuck this. And I ended up really actually liking her as a character. Does she have flaws? Yes, she does have flaws. Like every character in The Last of Us, she has a load of flaws.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I really liked her as a character, and I saw her intentions. And in the end of the game, I don't see Ali or Abby as a villain in this game. They are just two people that are on the opposite
Yeah.
sides of the
Like
same story.
genuinely, they're like everyone's the hero of their own story. They're both villains in another story. You know,
Yeah,
like
exactly. Mhm.
Abby. As far as my opinions on her, liking her isn't something I would exactly say. But I'm not like straight up. You killed Joel. Screw you. I'm just kind of
Mhm.
like I see where she's coming from. Is the thing. Like I see where she's coming from. I understand why she did what she did. Oh, that being said, when when she was when we took control of her to fight Ellie during that theater sequence, I definitely let Ellie kill me a couple of times just because it felt like the right thing to do.
You see, I was the same, but at the exact same time, at the very end of the game, the final fight between Abby and Ellie, I was very much saying to myself as I was going, I'm like, I know what Ellie's going to try and do now, and I don't want her to. You know, this was the
Yeah,
point of I was like, this isn't the answer. You're in the exact same position that she was in. And I think that's what the story to me does so well. Yes, it's a generic, hey guys, revenge is a dish best served cold. It's fucking
it's
shit,
a,
guys. Revenge
yeah,
is a fucking loop. And it's a gob, but it's just that there's that moment where obviously Abby and Ellie are on are on the exact same path, just at different points of that path.
yeah,
Abby has completed her revenge and feels nothing from it, and has learned that it was not worth the pain and what's happened to get that revenge. Essentially, she's done with it. She's like, this has not done anything to help me. It's killed all of my friends. It's not worked out. It essentially destroyed her life, right?
yeah.
This
Basically,
whole revenge scheme, and it's just having Ellie be at the exact same point when she wants is about to kill Abby again, right?
she
At
tried
the
to
end of the
let it
game,
go even before that, but just couldn't.
and
Like
then the
it seemed,
PTSD couldn't.
yeah,
Yeah,
like it seemed like she was going to just be like, okay, you've been beaten. I'm
yeah,
going to leave, but she couldn't,
but it's just
which
you just yeah
which I
you just
feel like
have that
that
moment.
was important because if she had just straight up been like, it was
I mean,
important to
I
make
think
it so that she was. It wasn't right to try and fight her in the first place, but it was.
it's even more important that she didn't in the end.
Yeah,
Because I think that's the moral. I think that's the moral here, is at the end of the day, as horrible as both Abby and Ali are as human beings, right? They both have this mutual like feeling inside where it's like it's just needs to stop, right?
yeah,
That killing each other isn't the answer. Abby comes to it a lot earlier than Ellie does, right? But at the
well,
same time,
on one hand, I think that's probably like the scenario in which Ellie encountered her again. Like if they had just
yeah,
like if Ellie had caught her before those people captured her, Abby probably would have killed her without thinking about it.
yeah, probably. But at the same time, it's one of those things where there's still a chance. It's that little bit of hope, right? Ellie had become such a hateful and effectively horrible person, essentially, right?
Yeah,
That just been destroyed by the feeling of revenge and remorse and hatred for this one character for killing her essentially her father, right? Her
yeah,
father figure, and to just have it at the end, have that one chance of hope of this isn't the solution right here. I can kill. Abby right now, but that's not going to give me. Is that going to give me happiness? Am I going to be happy because of that? No.
One detail that I liked was while she was choking her and stuff, it was flashing to Joel, and
Yeah.
because she let her go, I like that the detail was that instead of previously it had been like his bloodied face after the beating. The time that she lets it go was him playing the guitar.
Yeah.
I liked that
Yeah.
detail.
But I really liked how they ended that conflict. I like that they both survived. I think that that's the logical
That had
reason.
me
Both
going for a minute. I thought that she was gonna let Abby go and then like bleed out,
Abby. Oh, and then.
and then Ellie was just gonna bleed out because she was like wounded and such.
Mm,
Which
yeah.
I would have taken issue if they had done that. I would have been like, but I might be a monster, but they should have both died if that
Well,
was.
I was like, yeah, I was like, there's two boats here. They're but obviously, it's either everyone goes out or everyone dies or no one dies here. That was my opinion anyway. And I was like, oh, two boats.
Another scenario
Yeah.
that presented itself in my head momentarily during that whole conflict was, oh, she might kill Abby, but then Lev is gonna kill her, and then
Mm,
he's just gonna be on his own.
yeah, that was my main thing. Is I didn't like. I was like, oh, poor Lev in a sense. If that did happen, but no, I was really the thing with yeah. Let's go back to Abby just as a general character, right? And basically playing her story playing the 3 Seattle days as Abby, right? One thing that I want to say, and it is a criticism that you and me both have, is I think that the pacing of that is terribly done.
Yeah, they should have switched the way that happens, because
You should have been switching back and forth between them day by day. You shouldn't have
leaving it hanging
done all
on that
three.
theater confrontation undermined for me, it really undermined a lot of what was happening with Abby's story, where I was just like, I want to know what happens next,
Next, yeah,
not her story up to this point. Because
yeah.
looking at these moments in isolation, I think they're well done. Like, don't get me
Mm-hmm.
wrong, I just didn't care at the time. Like, I was speeding through things too. Like, I wasn't checking for supplies as much. I was just, yeah.
You see, I was like that for the start of Abby. The thing that I've said here is, I think the pacing issue. The game's too long for one. I
Yeah,
feel like
it's padded and
it feels padded, but when I look at the Abby content and I look at the Ellie content after everything, right? And yes, it was me starting to feel burnt out with the Abby section, right? But when I look at the actual contents of the Abby gameplay compared to the Ellie section, right? When I've looked at it in retrospect, I'm like, actually, to be honest, a lot of Abby's gameplay and a lot of the stuff that happens during Abby's your time that you play as Abby is miles better than the shit that happens with Ellie. Like genuinely, some of the best moments in the game happen while you're playing as Abby.
yeah. The thing is, yeah, the problem again comes from like the context in which it's delivered is a little iffy,
Mm.
because like I don't know, like
No, go on.
no, I'm just trying to collect it, because like the whole confrontation or the whole thing with the Rat King in the basement of the hospital and whatever, that would have been
Mm-hmm.
really cool if I was into the moment. Like it playing again, like if I replay the game, that'll be like I'll probably be drinking in the details of that way more because I won't be as hung up on what's going on next.
You see, I was like that. At first, I was like, I don't want to replay these 3 days as Abby. I really don't want to. I don't like her as a character. I just don't
It wasn't even
want to go through this again.
I didn't like
To
her and wasn't willing to be sold on it because, like I said, I see Abby's perspective and her points and all of
mm-hmm.
that. It's just like
You wanted to get to the meat, the
yeah,
confrontation, right? Exactly. But to me, I was the exact same way. But it was at some point during Seattle Day One where I just kind of was like, I kind of just said to myself, I was just like, you just need to get into the moment. Like, forget about that. Literally, just try and enjoy the moment as Abby, right? Just try and take that all out of your head. And if anything, just I was just going all the time, going,
it
oh,
died
so that's the person that I just killed.
a
That's the
little
person that I
bit
just killed. Is that?
too because like I felt less of this way the longer I played as her, probably as
Mm,
I was getting closer, but also like Seattle Day One specifically felt really long compared to the other two as Abby.
Mm.
I'm
I
not,
have this criticism. I have this criticism of Seattle Day 2 as Ellie feels extremely long compared to Seattle Day 1 and 3, when Seattle Day 1 literally has a massive open world section in it.
yeah, I'm not really sure exactly why. Maybe it's because they padded that section with a bunch of flashbacks. I think was part of the problem
Mm-hmm.
because you got the one that starts it off, and then you've got a couple to the aquarium, and
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So I think that's half the problem. I thought I was going to be at the aquarium by the end of one of the flashbacks, and then I still had a ways to go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Seattle Day 1 really dragged for Abby, and the same with Seattle Day 2 with Ellie. Those were the 2 points in the game where I was like, this is really dragging that we could cut some things out of here, right?
yeah.
With Seattle Day 2, for Ellie, I want to specifically give a shout out to literally the entirety of this fucking chapter because, my god, the only section that I thought was kind of interesting was the bit where you're thinking you're hunting down Tommy, and then the bait and switch scene where it's not Joel there, and you find
Oh yeah, it was Jesse.
Jesse.
Yeah,
Yeah, that whole section with Jesse I
I
liked,
kept
but then
wondering what that scene was gonna be later. Like I figured it was gonna be Tommy that like grabbed her, but the fact that it was Jesse was a nice little surprise.
yeah, it was a surprise. I forgot that scene was even there. I was like, oh yeah, that was what I didn't know, which I was reading into it today. Apparently, when games journalists were doing their playing the demos, which was the that section Hillcrest,
Yeah.
that was one of the demo sections.
Did they
At
keep
the end of the cutscene, they did that was a Joel cutscene there.
nice?
They got Joel to they got Joel to they got Troy Baker to record the entirety of that scene.
Oh man, yeah, I'm sure he was happy to do it. And
Yeah,
he loves Joel as a character, so
just to bait and switch people, which I really liked. But no, I think Hillcrest is a really good level, but the other 2/3 of that Seattle Day 2, whether it's going to the hospital, which was a track that I did not enjoy.
I liked the end of the hospital.
The actual, yeah, the chase and the hospital itself, except for the chase at the end of the hospital and the little bit of like the infected action that you got at the end.
I love any scenario presented where I can make infected eat humans.
Yeah.
I might be terrible for that, but I love doing that.
I mean, I didn't try. I'd always get the infected to attack them, but not just a straight up, oh, here, have a free human.
Oh well, no, it was always like chuck.
Apparently, you can do that. Apparently, you can do that.
I didn't do that. I would just chuck like bottles at them so that the clicker
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
attack them, and I'd be like, "Yes, dance puppets, dance."
But yeah, I liked that. Apart from that little chase, the rest of that area I thought was completely pointless and just didn't need to exist. I also felt that way, started to feel that way with the whole boat section in Seattle Day 3 as well. I
Yeah,
just want to say
like that was going on for a little while too.
that was a drag. That was a drag. The bit in the arcade with the bloater was cool, but the rest of it was just
Yeah, they
all
could
a
have
bit
cut out a different. Like I felt like we could have
boring.
got to the boat a little quicker because I felt like the little level leading where it's like get to the boat after you watch them drive it to the dock. I felt like it took a little while to get around to the boat, and then
Yeah.
yeah,
I don't know. I think that's maybe why I found at least the second half of Ellie's set, like half of the game, right? Obviously, you come back to play as Ellie later in the final, like kind of epilogue parts, right?
yeah,
But I feel that's why I honestly can say that I enjoyed Abby's section more than Ellie's, just because I don't know if it's just because Abby plays more like Joel in the fact that it's a lot more kind of you don't have you don't have this free knife that just instantly
yeah.
kills everything for you,
And she plays like
and
Joel, but she also doesn't feel as like
she's a lot more
rigid.
bulky, but not as rigid as Joel, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's that I enjoyed, but it felt like Abby got all the fun stuff,
She got a
and it sounds
dude.
she got the horror section. She got the the huge set piece. Like there was a bit where you and Jesse, where Ellie and Jesse were driving, right, and it lasted about 3 seconds, and nothing really that interesting happened. But then you got the whole ambush with the fucking cultists, right? When
Yeah.
you're playing as Abby, and you got that whole shooter action set piece section. I was like, that's really fun. And then you got a bit of story going into their section, and then you get the whole like exploring the abandoned city bit, which I felt was a lot more interesting than the fucking bit that Ali had to do. But maybe that's just because it was during the day, so I could actually see it, not in the rain.
That's
Um,
possible. Yeah.
like a lot of Ellie stuff. But I don't know, it's just something about Abby's sections, and I think it's just because I let it go for a while. I was just like, I'm just gonna let it go and let the game take me where it wants to take me, and I'm not gonna
I
care about the
think
cliffhanger for a while.
I think
And
another
just
part that, like specifically in isolation, still would probably drag was the coming down from like the shortcut lift thing, the building
oh, the
climbing
hotel
down from
section,
that. I'm not a fond. I wasn't fond of that. I was like, I feel like I've been in here forever.
which you talking about the bit with the infected, or are you
Yeah,
talking about
like when you're coming down from the lift that Lev was taking you on, when
the
you're coming,
skyscraper
yeah,
things?
when
Yeah,
you're
like
coming
the
down from that, I felt like I was in that building forever. Because you
see, I
gotta go
didn't
get the
hate that.
mask for him, and then
Yeah.
it's still like you're forever a ways up. And I felt
Hmm.
like I was going down at the pace of a crawl.
You see, yeah, I don't hate it because the thing that I find interesting about this game is there are very little infected encounters in this game, and I'm very surprised. Like, genuinely, the Rat King is honestly the last big infected encounter you get in this game.
Yeah,
And that literally happens about 7 hours before the game fucking ends. So you get, like, obviously small encounters with a few clickers and shamblers and stuff like that, but you never get, like, a big, like, horde of them in the dark again, right? Or anything like that.
honestly, they cut out the infected pretty well, major infected encounters pretty early in the first game too. Like there was minimal amounts, I think, in between winter and like.
You had the one final send off, which was the underground
Oh yeah, was that the thing
highway.
where there were like the two bloaters at the same?
Yeah,
You see,
like you kind of had one final
I
shoot off with
always
the.
forget about that is because I walked away from that fight. like I,
Oh, you just ran. Yeah, you just
I
walked
like,
through it. Yeah,
I like snuck by him. I think I believe that's the story because my sister played the game before me and she thought I was going to have issues, and I'm like, no, I walked past that part. You
but no.
silly goose.
But yeah, I went full guns blazing down that
Yeah.
part. But you at least had that kind of encounter. Whereas in this game, it genuinely is like the last infected that you appear are like three chained up infected in that group's like courtyard. Right, they're the last infected you see.
That was a really cool. Like that is way more impressive than the Shambler. Let me say,
Oh, what was
the
the tied
Rat
up?
King.
Oh, the Rat King.
Yeah,
Let's talk about the Rat King really quickly. So just to conclude, I really like Abby as a character, and I can see why people don't like her, but I personally really liked her. And I said to myself I wasn't going to get attached because it's some stupid kind of we'll make you feel bad for killing all those people, but then at the end of the day, I did kind of feel bad. I didn't feel bad as in like, oh no, I killed Mel. I was just like, oh, I kind
yeah.
of
I
feel
didn't
sorry
feel
for
bad for
Abby about
killing her
this.
friends, except for maybe Owen. Like
Yeah, Owen,
I
I
liked
felt bad
Owen.
about because I liked
I
Owen as a
respect him
character.
because he was
Yeah.
like, I am sick of fighting this war that I don't care about. I want to bounce.
And maybe that
Be
other
happy,
that guy that guy that Abby rooms with, I don't remember what his name, Manny, that's his name.
Manny.
I kind of felt bad for Manny because Manny got the fucking Jesse treatment of just getting a fucking
Oh yeah,
head
he just got.
KO headshotted by Tommy, dude.
Yeah,
Um,
I figured he
but
was gonna die unceremoniously somehow because like he was the one person in the group that didn't get murdered by Ellie.
yeah, exactly. So I
After
was
that
like,
point,
it turns out Tommy got him, dude.
I was like, he was either gonna get shot by or eaten or something.
It did take me a solid while to realize that it was Tommy though that was the sniper.
Oh yeah, like I think it clicked finally when it was when
I saw him. It's when when you're on the bridge,
yeah.
like the bridge that he was on, and you can kind of just see him down the corner. I was like, that jacket's Tommy's jacket. I'm like, oh god, that's Tommy. And I was like, I tried shooting at him and it just didn't work. I'm like, yeah, that's definitely Tommy then.
I think when they reintroduced the or when you showed up to the part where he was shooting at them at
Mm-hmm.
Abby, I was like, oh, this must be Tommy, right? Because Jesse was busy doing the other thing.
Yeah.
So
So
like
I was like,
by the
well,
law,
Jesse was looking for Tommy, right?
oh yeah,
I'm surprised we didn't see Jesse there.
because he was
I wonder where Jesse was.
because him causing a ruckus as the sniper was what tipped them off to where he was. I
Yeah.
forgot. Okay.
So it must have been. I assume that Jesse was the person that found him once he'd washed up on the shore
Yeah.
after Abby had knocked him into the pier. But no. Let's get back to the Rat King. I just wanted to conclude that hey, I kind of liked Abby. I can see why people didn't, and I can see why you just kind of felt fine about her.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. That's what I like about this game is I think what's really interesting is there's a load of people that have a load of different opinions on them, and some of them I feel are bullshit opinions. Um, but people that have actually played the game and have some actual genuine opinions about this game, I really like hearing what everybody has to
Yeah,
say about it.
things come in a spectrum. It's not just good, bad to the nth degree.
Yeah, and that's cool. I like that this game isn't just oh, I really like it, and then everyone just talks about how they really like it for a while, and it's
Yeah.
just like, oh, that's it. I'm glad that there's some different opinions. Let's talk about favorite gameplay moments really quick. Let's go back to the Rat King in the
Yeah.
hospital. The reason that I said that Ali's day 2 sucks is because I thought, oh, this hospital would be a really cool piece of like when they were like, oh, this is where there's like, oh, don't go down there, there's spores, and I'm like, oh, like ground zero and stuff like that. We hear like hints of the guard saying, oh, we haven't gone down to the lower floors because of ground zero and stuff like that. I was like,
Yeah.
when you were just chasing this woman, where you were chasing Nora through the place, and that was about it. I was just like, this would have made a really cool like fucking horror level.
Yeah.
Like I'm
Right.
like I'm
Like
so
even the
mad
lighting and
that there
stuff.
wasn't. Yeah, I was like I'm so mad that they haven't done anything with this because this would have been really creepy and really fun when it's just a shitty little room where you can throw a rock at the fucking humans and have the clickers come and kill them, but it was kind of underwhelming in terms of actual combat, right?
Yeah, as far as
So then to go back as Abby, oh what a section, man.
yeah, it was real good. Like you had to turn on the power, which
Mm-hmm.
I was I was like, this generator's probably gonna make noise. If there are clickers in the area, that's not gonna
I was
be
like,
great.
it gave me hotel basement vibes from the original.
Yeah, I liked this more
Like,
than the basements in the first
oh,
game.
it's way better. It's
Yeah.
way better.
First of all, there is a payoff that is way better.
Mm-hmm.
Because the noises the thing makes early on was like, ooh, I can't wait to see what you are.
Yeah.
I was like, I really hope it's not just a bloater that's, making noise. That sounded too distinct for that to be
Mm-hmm.
it.
Yeah.
And I wasn't disappointed. Like the Rat King is it's a cool idea too, since like individual bodies that are like just stacked on top of each other like that, being like dead on their own, but
Yeah.
still, since the infection is mushroom based, that makes a lot of sense that they could just kind of like amalgamate like that, since mushrooms don't like really die unless you take out the mycelium or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that that can happen makes sense to me, and it was first of all, the thing is really ugly to look at in the
God, it was
best kind of way.
terrifying. It was terrifying when when you're in the ambulance and you grab the thing and you can hear the roar and I'm like, oh god, something's coming for us. And you just turn around and it's like this fucking amalgamation of all these bodies and like the screeching and just the fucking like mouth and I'm like, oh, that's just like I was like, that's terrifying,
You
man.
know what
Like,
the truly impressive thing is too? Like, as someone who's played horror games pretty frequently,
mm-hmm.
they horror games love the flesh monster that's just a bunch of stuff thrown together.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
they love that, and this stands out to me somehow. So I
You see,
respect it for that.
You see, I don't like horror games, and this is the closest The Last of Us has ever gotten to a horror game. Whereas it's an actual
I
horror section.
concur.
You're in the
It's an
dark.
actual like horror
It's an
level
actual
or
horror
something,
level,
not just
right?
some poor sod being scared of zombies.
Yeah, it's not like here's a cheeky jump scare for you, haha, horror game. It was like actually creepy. You were in the dark the whole time. You turn the generator on and there's clickers, and you're like, oh, nothing ran out at me. Everything must be fine. And then you see a massive trail of blood and just a load of screeching, and you're like, oh god. Then you go into the dark and damp car park, and you just go, and oh, the ambulance is there. So you go in the ambulance, and it just, and then the chase and everything, and the
Oh, it was
door not opening, and I'm not a fan of usually I'm not a fan of horror, but I really enjoyed that section just because of how well it was done and how they didn't play it cheap.
no, they didn't.
It could have been very easy for them to do a couple of jump scares and just have it be some lame thing, but it's genuinely like adrenaline,
I think the fact
like
that
boosting.
they still let the anticipation stew after you turned on the power, like they still had the trail of blood and all that, and it's not like the thing was like waiting for you in the ambulance either.
Mm-hmm.
Like the fact that they kept putting it off was important as far as the
Oh, and then you're trapped in like a claustrophobic room with it and have to take it down, and then
yeah.
oh, I loved my favorite bit, which scared the shit out of me when it happened, was when you've damaged it enough and you start dislodging the parts of the body, and then those parts of the body reanimate as well. And then you've got like crawling, like stalkers crawling after you and throwing gas bombs at you. I was like, oh, this is
Okay,
such
I killed the
like really
giant
well done.
mess first, and then like the other one kept bothering me for like 10 minutes afterwards. I felt like
Oh, I couldn't kill it. Yeah, I couldn't kill it either.
my whole inventory on that thing. It took forever, and it was
Yeah,
like too slippery to like flamethrower.
yeah. I forgot to use my flamethrower on the Rat King, so I used it all on the little thing, and it wouldn't die. I'm like, ugh. But no, just really well done, and it's stuff like that where I was like, oh, I could have done with some more of that because it was great, and the way they set it up, it makes sense in the universe. You know, it was Ground Zero. That thing's been there since fucking Infection Day, like since Outbreak Day. That thing's been rotting in there, and it's just like. I also want to give a shout out for creepiness to the way that they made stalkers infinitely better in this game. I love the fact that some of them just attach to the wall and sit there for years waiting to jump out at someone. That scared the shit out of me. So fair play to whoever came up with that idea, because the first one you encounter, you just don't expect it, and the fucker jumps out, and I just cried. I was like, oh my god, I was not expecting that. And I really like what they did with the stalkers are more prominent in this game, and I'm grateful because they were the creepiest of the infected in the original, because they just used to hide and try and wrap behind you, and they did a really good job of putting them in this game. So
Yeah, I felt like they implemented them better in this one as well.
what do you think of the Shambler? Let's talk about the Shambler. That's the last infected type that we really need to talk about.
I'm not impressed, honestly.
I wasn't either. They're just a
It's like
smaller bloater.
it's like a bloater that has an AoE attack instead of like one that they can throw at you, and it didn't seem to die with much difficulty. They didn't.
I mean, I just did the same thing every time. Throw a Molotov, shoot 2 shotgun shells, it's dead. Move on. Like genuinely, that was all I did to the Shamblers. They weren't, and there were a couple of sections where they wanted you to kind of stealth around the Shamblers. I was like, fuck this. I'm just gonna go all guns blazing because there's no point trying.
I don't remember where specifically it was. I think I was Ellie at the time. I found
it was Seattle Day 1. You were in the basement with Dina. That's the section with the Shamblers in the dark.
I don't mean that one. I mean another time. It was like this basement level of a building, not a. Not
yeah. I know what you're on about. Yeah.
There were like 2 clickers and a shambler, or maybe it was 2 shamblers and a clicker or something. I don't remember specifically, but it was like, maybe try and stealth your way along this instead of going right at them. And I'm like, nah, I'm just gonna set you on fire and and then I'm gonna use this trip mine that I've had in my inventory since the beginning of the game to cover my the other side.
I do want to say, when you switched to Abby, I was extremely sad when you didn't have Molotovs anymore. Because I always do love a good Molotov, and I was like, "Oh, this sucks." But then when you find out that she has a sniper pistol and a crossbow, the crossbow is so much fun, dude.
Oh yeah, the crossbow.
Every problem that I had with the bow and arrow just went away with that crossbow. It was clean, and it was great.
The bow is always.
I liked it. I liked it.
Weapon in Ellie's inventory, and it was my favorite weapon in the first game, mostly because like I'm someone who in games where it is heavy on your resources, I will basically not use my resources unless forced to. Like in Resident Evil, I duck around zombies more than I fight them, and so the weapon that has the reusable ammunition is the one that I will go to for this. Even if
I like the crossbow
too, since they aren't very harsh on your resources in this game in the first place.
No, not at all. Not at all. That's another criticism I have is for a survival game. The resources were way too lenient.
Yeah,
I was playing on normal and I had like full everything all the time. I even at one point cranked the. How you can change the custom difficulty. I turned the resources down lower because I was like, "There's too many resources around here, man."
Nice.
But no, I loved that feature. So thank you for adding that, Naughty Dog. That was pretty cool. One thing I did want to talk about while we're talking about weapons was just I did like the weapon selection in this game quite a bit.
They had everything.
I liked
needed.
The flamethrower was
different. Yeah. Surprise.
Oh, returning from the first game. Yeah. I didn't expect it, although it was weaker than it was in the first game. But
I still liked it.
Yeah. The SMG was also interesting, like for a last level little weapon. It was
Oh, that made
broken as
yeah,
hell.
that made life easy. Like its silencer is permanent, so you just need and the people who are there have a lot of ammo for it because it's just kind of their standard carry.
Hmm.
Yeah,
But no, it was. I liked their weaponry. I did like Abby's tool set a lot. I felt like I don't know why I felt like this, but playing as Abby, I felt like I was able to stealth a lot easier.
that's really
I
interesting. Since Ellie had the free uh, insta kill with the switchblade, and
Yeah, but
by the
what
time
I
I had
decide,
switched
yeah.
off her, I had the double uh, stealth
Oh,
kill
did you
speed.
have the double the speed kill? I didn't have that. But no, because the reason for me was yes, Ellie was very easy to take out people from close range, but from long range, she really only had her bow, and then she had like the silencer right
Yeah,
on her pistol. Where with Abby, the crossbow is for one, the crossbow is a lot better because most of the time the bolts come back.
yeah,
Like you don't have to
they
just
stay
head, yeah,
attached.
you don't have to just headshot. So that was a lot nicer. And I just don't know. I think it's also because I upgraded Abby to have the better silencer, which was 5 shots as well.
Nice. Um,
But no, I really liked the weapon selection. It was good.
Abby's stealth kill animation,
Mm.
arguably just as brutal as the stabbing. Like watching the life just escape the
Choke
people's
out of
face
them.
they
Yeah,
are choked to death is impressive.
yeah. It's pretty nasty. It's pretty nasty. Let's talk about some other favorite moments from the game. We've also got a couple of characters that we can talk about as well. I want to ask, what's your opinion on? Let us talk about. Let's do some characters. What
Okay.
were your opinions about Yar and Lev? Um,
Uh, they were all right. They
mm,
provided a pretty decent motivation for Abby in the following days. It was
mhm.
interesting because seeing okay, Yara's introduction was brutal. First of all,
Oh, I
I got to
after
that
seeing the
part and I
Joel
was like,
death, yeah.
I got to that part. I'm like, oh man, Ethan might have to pause that too.
After I
Either that
didn't.
or you were desensitized.
I thought I was mostly desensitized after because after watching that you'd already been through like so much like Joel's thing. I don't think after Joel's thing anything would get me as much as the Joel shotgun to the leg and then the graceful fucking batting of the hammer, the
Yeah,
golf club. Sorry, not the hammer. Not a true fan. I haven't really played The Last of Us, guys. I'm making this all up as we go along. Um,
yeah.
I have. Please, that was a joke. Um, but no, I thought that. But then just watching her fucking arm get smashed in, I was like, I'm close. I'm
Dude,
close. Also, the guts on the guy.
if you
The
would have
knife
seen
going into her.
if you would have seen my face during that point in time, it would have been funny because like the first hammer strike was it looked like it was a condescending eyebrow raise, like I wasn't expecting them to do that, and then the second one it was like the full like eyes wide, and I'm like, oh man, they're going for it.
Oh, and it's just how they said clip her wings and stuff like that. And I'm
Dude,
just
I
like,
thought they were
ugh.
gonna go for her knees, honestly, when she said that, because wings is like a form of mobility. I thought her knees or ankles were getting got for a minute.
That was just, oh
Even
god.
like the arm was still not great.
And the other one I hate. There's that moment where Abby's hanging, right? And it's just I'm obviously I've seen a load of people being choked out in this game, but it's just the fact that it just made me feel so uneasy watching her face go bright red
She's
and
like
just kind of
struggling
seeing the
like
life drain out of her like
underneath of her. Yeah, there's a
it just
those
made me feel
things
so
are
uneasy.
usually done for like an instantaneous neck break rather than like choke people for real. It's supposed to break your neck.
Yeah, exactly. And then just using it to choke her, it was just watching her face go red, it was absolutely disgusting. But no, I feel like Yara and Lev really were the turning point for Abby, right? And I think that Yara and Lev were both done really well, especially Lev. I want to give massive shout outs to whoever played Lev, right? Because I think Lev's a really good character. Lev is very much the innocence that Ellie was in The Last of Us Part 1 in regards to you
A
need
lot of
someone there. Yeah, you needed that humanity still. Both Abby and Ellie were without humanity in many ways. They had been forcefully grown up, right? They weren't very old. The pair of them weren't that old, right? I don't know what Abby's age is. Do you know how old Abby is? I was always
I'm not
wanting to
sure.
look it up.
Like
I was
mid
always
to
wanting
late
to look it up.
20s, she has to be.
Abby, Last of Us, because I know
But
Ellie is
Ellie's like 19 or 18 at this point because she would have been she was
early
14,
20s. It's not
early
confirmed, but it's early
20s.
20s. Yeah,
I
I
figured it
guess
was like,
true. Yeah.
I figured it was early 20s in the flashbacks, but like mid to late by
Mm.
the time that the game is actually happening.
But no, just to have them two, who obviously are so devoid of humanity at this point, because they've just literally been to have Lev come into the picture and have Abby find what she
Something
like
to
find
fall.
something to, yeah, there's that brilliant line by Owen, and I fucking loved it. And this was the point where I was like, okay, I'm starting to like at least Abby and Owen as characters. But it's the moment where he has the Firefly quote where he's like, we just stopped looking for the light.
Oh yeah,
And it was just, that line was so well done. Like, I was just like, I get these characters now. And
yeah,
then having Lev come into the picture, and just so I say, I did say last week that Abby was transgender, which I was completely wrong about because fucking spoilers are stupid and I shouldn't listen to them and I should have just played the game. But that I went on a massive, tangent talking about how transgender characters should be in games, and this is a great step. Um, what I didn't realize was there is a transgender character in this game, and I still stand by all those comments, but switch them to Lev. That was really well
yeah.
done. Like,
I,
honestly,
I
really
concur.
well done. Even better than I
Even
would have.
better contextualized by like the way his society is. Even
Honestly, just the way that that Lev is done. Honestly, I give massive props to that. I'm sure that there's people that, I'm sure, knowing me being an uncultured and ill-informed person, that to people, some people will have been done horribly, but to me, in any way, I think it was really well done.
yeah,
And just to have this character who was brought up in this tough environment and not being who they are on the that who they are on the outside doesn't represent who they are on the inside, right? And having that and having them to pay the price because they're in this sick and twisted cult, right, is just, it's so good. And it brings the humanity that's kind of needed to the story when you'd been going at this point, you'd very much been just watching terrible people do terrible things for hours and hours on end. To bring some
yeah,
innocence into it over such a, in a sense, trivial thing as just someone wanting to be who they believe they are,
yeah.
you
It's
know? It really brought some light to it.
it was always fun when Abby would say something and then like he'd be like, "What's that?" Like
Mm.
what sealed this as being one of the most depressing games I've ever played was when she was like, "We're not out of the woods yet," pun intended. And then one of them, because she was with both of them at the time, was probably Lev, but it could have been Yara too. Was like, "What's a pun?" I'm like, "Oh man, this game really is sad."
Mm. But no, I did really like their dynamic and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Um, but no, I do want to give massive props to Lev as a character because I really liked him. And to be honest, that's the thing, is with this ending, and obviously with, you don't really know what happens to Abby at the end of the game, but with the new main menu screen, it's assumed that they made it to the island and they're with the
yeah. I have
Fireflies,
to
whoever's
assume
left.
that she found the
Um,
fireflies, but
mm.
you know,
I'm really hoping that that dynamic was something that was really great. And it's one of those things where I always used to say, like, beforehand, I thought Ellie was dead. I'm like, oh, they'll never do a Last of Us Part 3, right?
yeah,
But if they do, I would really like, even if they're not the main focus, just to check in on those characters, because I did really enjoy their dynamic and I'd like to see where it go further. I'm also just interested in this new Firefly group as it was, because you very much, from Joel's perspective and from playing The Last of Us Part 1, you just see them as a nuisance and a bit of a terrorist group, and I don't know how their intentions lie. But seeing them from Abby's perspective and seeing what a lot of them were like, it very much is. There's just a few bad figures, right? Whereas the rest of them were very
yeah,
much had the right intentions, especially Abby's dad, who,
yeah,
can I just say, when I first heard the leak, that the reason was because the one person you have to kill in that scene is Abby's father. I'm like, that's dumb as shit. But then when you actually see who he is and he's actually a really nice guy, I'm like, okay, I kind of do feel horrible now that I had to kill that guy because he was really
yeah,
nice and he was the only person that could find a cure. Um, I was like, oh, I kind of feel really bad for Abby. Um, but no, just really well done. And I'd
yeah,
like to, if they do a Last of Us Part 3, and I know it'll probably be about Ellie because Neil seems to very much be in a place where The Last of Us is Joel and Ellie's story. Well, now Ellie, I guess, his story, right?
If they were to do a
But
part 3, I could see the conflict being maybe the Fireflies found another doctor. So
and
Abby
they come for and
Abby
Ellie's
goes.
just out.
Abby now, for the sake of humanity, is hunting Ellie or something
Yeah.
like that.
Not even hunting. Like, what if it was like
Well,
Abby
she
has
could
to
just
now
be like,
find
"Hey,
Ellie, and after all that's happened, try
guess
and
what?
convince her. Yeah,
I found another person who can do this."
yeah. It'd be interesting. It'd be interesting indeed. Who have we not talked about? Let's talk about the WLF. Just everyone else in general from the WLF.
All right.
Because very much for the first half of the game, the WLF are very much just, oh look, they're the baddies. Let's stab them. But there's a lot of interesting things with the WLF. What was your overall opinion on that and just the cult in general, this conflict that's going on? How did you feel as that is the kind of setting for this game in Seattle?
Okay, so the WLF as a whole, like,
Mm-hmm.
they didn't really turn me around on them except for save Owen. Like the rest of them, I didn't really feel all that bad for them having to die. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, also their leader, not impressed. Eh,
Isaac, yeah. My thing with the WLF very much is it's the same with the Fireflies. Is I can see that there are good people with good intentions at heart a part of this, right?
yeah,
And when I say good people, I mean like what I really mean is there's good intentions behind this, right? There's kids, there's families, there's people that need to survive.
yeah.
It's a
There are
way of
people who
living,
are
right?
like given safety because of it, but also
Yeah.
it's the wrong way to go about it.
It's not Jackson, right? It's not Jackson, but it's still a city with people and that there are some people that are doing it for the right intentions. It's essentially some people they're doing it for the people, not for the murder and the intent, right?
Yeah,
But I feel like what's one of the really important things is with Isaac, who is a fucking terrible person, may I add, right? Absolutely fucking
he
horrible
passes off
person.
that knife to the person who's like being tortured, and or he passes off the knife to the person who was like watching the door, and he's like, "Don't let them fall asleep." I'm like, "Oh God, you need to chill, man."
Genuinely, like, horrible person, right? And just it was one of those things where it was like when you're playing Seattle D1, I'm like, oh, wow, am I really going to be working for the WLF this whole time, right? Like, I was like, is this what it's going to be like? And I'm like, I don't know if I'll turn around on Abby as a character if she's working for these dickheads, right? Because
Yeah,
Abby might have nicer intentions on the whole, but these guys are all like, they're basically a bunch of terrorists, right? That's basically what they are.
yeah.
They're
They just
trying
kind
to
of
get people
they
to
shoot
reform
people
to
on
their regime.
sight,
Yeah,
and they're not great.
yeah. There are a
Like
couple of people that
they
they're
have
just
they have
soldiers for them.
friendships amongst themselves, but they still aren't
Hmm.
like great.
Yeah, exactly. So when you do have the twist of the Yara and Lev stuff, I was much happier being like, oh, okay, I get Abby as a character now. Is she a good person? No, but she has better intentions than the WLF.
Yeah,
And I feel like that's with most of the characters you meet from the WLF, whether it's Owen, who I think is one of the more interesting characters. I really did
yeah.
like Owen.
I like Owen.
His relationship with Abby was really well done. I love that aquarium scene. Just exploring an abandoned aquarium was really fun,
Oh yeah,
especially after the museum. I was like, oh, it's the museum again. But I was like, actually, no, this is interesting because you had a
yeah. It
different
was
dynamic here.
the fact that it
Uh,
became a really important spot to him that he just goes to hang out and is
he
cool too.
basically lives there, dude.
Yeah,
Yeah, he basically lives there, which is kind of cool. And I loved it when you went back with all the lights and everything, and it all being Christmas themed. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. But no, Mel was a character that I felt bad for because I'm like, yeah, you're in this situation, but she didn't ever really do anything to make me go, oh no.
yeah. Like she was kind of caught in a
Unimportant.
side of even Owen didn't care about her, and he got her pregnant.
That was the weird thing was it was like I didn't see any kind of fucking romance between those two whatsoever. I didn't really
Yeah,
feel any of it.
it was strange. Like they had very little chemistry, and maybe they did that intentionally to make you feel less bad about the fact that Owen Owen cheats on her.
Yeah.
But
It was
I didn't really. Mel didn't do much for me. She was voiced by Aloy,
yeah.
though. Decent
Yeah.
performance.
The thing with that character was when Ali kills her, the thing that I felt was I was like she just killed a pregnant lady. That's really fucking bad. That's a horrible thing to do, Ellie. That's like really fucking like she didn't know, right?
Yeah, she didn't know.
When she when
That is
she
really
when she
bad,
found out that she was pregnant, I
but
was like,
also,
oh, that's salt in the wound. That
yeah,
is like that genuinely is
that's
salt in the
she
wound.
didn't
It was
know.
it was in defense, right? It was in
Yeah.
defense, but at the same time, that is salt in the
Mel
wound.
should have wizened up and maybe not put herself in the dangerous situations so
Yeah.
much
But
late
at the
into.
same time, yeah. But at the same time, after now knowing who she is and going through it and knowing her more as a character, I still didn't feel any different. I'm like, oh yeah, it's bad. It's worse that she's pregnant and Ellie didn't know. But it wasn't like, oh no, Mel's gone. Oh,
Yeah,
I was
that wasn't the feeling.
like,
Uh,
yeah,
I was
like I
still
was
more
when,
upset by Owen dying in
yeah, I
retrospect.
was more, yeah. Like when with retrospect, I'm like, oh, that's really a shame because he was genuinely a nice guy.
He was
Like
just gonna pack
that's
up and leave. That was
literally like,
take Yara and Lev with him.
yeah, like it was really really bad, and I'm just like, I feel bad for Owen
Yeah,
in
like
retrospect, but no. And then Manny, I was just like, oh, bye, Manny. Guess you're dead now.
yeah,
Bye. Like I liked him for the little bits that he was in, but at the same time, it was
he
like
was
he
kind
didn't
of funny,
really.
but he also didn't turn me around on like, he was the one sitting there spitting on Joel after he was dead. I was like, oh, well, I don't like
Yeah, he
you.
did.
I was like, well, I don't like you.
Yeah.
It's kind of
Again, I was just like, yeah, it's interesting. It'll be all for interesting. How did you think of the Seraphites or the Scars, as most people call them? What did you think of them as an like a cult of what's the word? Like I
okay.
don't
As a
know.
group, they're not
Yeah.
nearly as cool as they could have been.
Oh, I
If
agree.
they were, as a group, the best in the TV station, where they were this entity that showed up and just strung these people up.
I agree.
And like the first encounter with them in the woods was probably
When
the
they shoot you
best.
in the arm, yeah.
Yeah, it was probably the best scenario that they were presented still as a threat.
I find it
Afterwards, their
interesting. Yeah, go
mystique
on.
kind of slowly vanished, and I don't know exactly why. Um, the only other time I feel like they were really presented as threatening on a level maybe higher than the WLF in terms of these guys are going to mess you up once they get a hold of you is when Abby was taken prisoner, and they were about
Yeah,
to
yeah.
open her up and all that. And then the hammer thing, yeah, that helped. But uh, afterwards, like they were just another group that was on a different side from the WLF. They were equally as bad, and they weren't like as cool in as they could have been as far as like the cannibals in the first game were still creepier to me.
I agree. They lost. My thing with the Scars was I thought at first, like I said, they were creepy as hell. Like when you're in the TV station, you see all the hanged bodies with their organs out, and you're like, oh god, these are creepy. And then you go into the forest and they start whistling, and then you get shot in the arm, and they're like, "Oh, press R1 to remove the arrow." Which, by the way, they never shot me again.
Oh, I got
Uh,
it like twice.
so that literally, I got the R1 tutorial, and I never used it again, apart from the time when it told me to rip out the arrow from that big guy that you were fighting against
Yeah,
that as Abby near the end of
yeah,
day 3.
too.
So I forgot the button. I was like pressing triangle and square, and I'm like, why isn't the arrow coming out? It's like press R1. I'm like, oh yeah, R1's the arrow button. I've never used it. That's why. Because I just stayed stealth. I'm like, fuck this. I'm not going aggro against these guys. I'll snipe
Yeah,
them myself. But yeah, after that scene, like, um, I don't know. It just they weren't that interesting to me because one, they worshipped this leader, right? And I don't
yeah.
know. Did you really read into who the leader was?
She was.
Because
I
I
don't know
didn't. She was
exactly.
basically a terrorist, essentially, right? She kind of she killed some army members, as far as I am
I
aware,
think she
right?
was
That's
someone
what
who
she did.
stood up to the Fedra people, but I
Yeah,
don't
the
know
Fedra
exactly.
people.
The way
But
that
I think
Lev
isn't yeah.
did it was like just her ideas got distorted because that's how things go down. Like I doubt she
Yeah.
would have known, capturing people and stringing them up and all that.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. But it's like they went from being creepy to then when you actually met them and you have the whole like Abby in the woods thing, the Abby being hung up thing, like, oh yeah, kind of creepy again. Not as creepy because they're all just talking like they're just regular people, really. They just sound like a bunch of loons.
Yeah,
But when you get to know Lev and they start doing the whole thing where they're like, oh, they're just following a religion, they're just following what they believe, and they've kind of took it too far, and they try and do the, oh, they're just confused people, and they're just like, they're terrible
Yeah,
people,
it's
but they're just doing it. And I'm like, I don't fall for that. You're
yeah,
not
that
falling
didn't
for that.
work at all.
And then from that point on, they were never seen in a scary light again. They were just there, right? Like,
Yeah.
even on their island, there was nothing scary about them. They were
The
just,
scariest thing about the island
leave the
was there was a
children.
full-scale war going on.
Yeah. Like, I think it would have been a lot creepier if there wasn't a war going on, to be honest. Like, can you imagine having to sneak into their, like, camp with them just all having torches and just, like, looking out for you? Like, them all
You know,
hunting you down? That would have been a lot more interesting.
another angle that would have been cool for them to take was because these guys were there and this like opposing force to the WLF who Ellie had beef with. It would have been cool to see Ellie like try and like olive branch to them or something.
Hmm.
Get at
Yeah.
the WLF and sink to maybe even worse levels than she did in the game. That would have been interesting for them to do, but I can see why they didn't.
Yeah, I can see why. And it's just one of those things where they kind of just blended in. They were like, I see why they're here, but now that Yar and Lev have been introduced, they're the important thing from that entire group.
That
Nothing
was
else really matters.
their existence was mostly to have Yara and Lev and the whole different sides, putting aside their differences thing as far as Abby's story.
Goes, yeah. Which is a shame because when you see them at the TV station, I was like, I'm not looking forward to meeting these cult members because they seem to me like they'd be terrifying, right? But they're really not. And that's the shame. Like, I feel like it would have been like, I haven't played it on harder difficulty, so maybe they do this. I might be wrong, but I think it'd be really creepier if it was you being hunted instead. Instead
Yeah,
of it just feeling like you're hunting them, imagine them that are completely in the shadows that come out and stab you from nowhere and shoot arrows at you like they do the first time. They never do that again. They never do
yeah,
anything smart like that ever again.
not anything like that really.
So I think it would have been really interesting if they had played it kind of, oh, you're the predator to the WLF, but when you're in Seraphite territory, you're the one being hunted. That would have been way more interesting to me personally, but we never really got to see it.
That would have been really cool.
I'm trying to think. What did you think of the whole war with the island in general? Did you? I've had some discussions with friends, and one thing that one of my friends has said, we've talked about the plot dragging on, the story dragging on, the game going on a bit too long, right? It's a bit longer than it needs to be. I don't think 21 to 26 hours really is how much of The Last of Us Part 2 we needed in our lives. But did you feel that the island dragged? Or
Uh,
did you think that the story was getting dragged at that point? Because
a little bit.
two of my friends said that was the bit, the island bit was the bit where they started to feel like the game dragged. I felt it was earlier.
I feel like the island bit would have been fine if you would have touched up some other things.
That's my exact.
The
That's my
island bit
same.
specifically wasn't what needed to go.
No, it feels like the story was dragging because at that point we'd already been going for 18 hours or so, right?
Yeah.
I feel like if you'd shortened down some of Ali's dull bits and some of Abby's earlier bits, like Seattle Day One, like made those a bit shorter, then you wouldn't feel that you were dragged. Because I actually liked the island section. I didn't hate it. There was some interesting gameplay stuff there.
Yeah,
You got a bit of a cool action piece and some
being
stealth.
able to sneak up on people because they're preoccupied with the other side was cool.
Yeah, I there was one fight I completely avoided everyone.
Yeah.
The one getting to the horse. I didn't kill a single person. I just crawled through the grass, and I was like, I'm just gonna let these guys focus on each other while I crawl through.
Dude, some people
Um,
wandered into my way, so I was like, I'm not gonna take the chance of them getting killed now. I'm just gonna get rid of them.
That's fair. That's
Yeah.
fair. But no, I also like that Isaac got what he deserved. I thought that was quite
he did.
satisfying.
Yeah,
Because, with Yara's death, I was expecting Yara to die. That was just a given. I was just
I was
like, I'm
honestly
waiting for it.
expecting them both to die at some.
Yeah, same. I was expecting Lev to die at some point, but I was like, if one of them's going,
Dude,
it's
I
gonna
thought
be
there was
Yara.
as they were getting away on the boat. Even there was a dude running around with a gun on the dock.
I was like, how did no one see them?
He
I'm
was
like,
mostly running away from something. It looked like, but for a second, I was like, this dude's gonna point the gun and shoot Lev down.
yeah, it was.
Abby's
funny
just
because
gonna
it was like,
sadly float back to the aquarium.
it's like we did. Yeah,
realize your
we
friend
did it.
dead.
Yeah, it was like we did it. We It's like, oh, we got the boat. We did it, and then it's a rowboat, and I'm like, well, people are going to see you row away. And no one does. I'm like, okay, that's the most unrealistic thing about this entire game is no one noticed you row away. I don't believe that for a second. But no, I actually quite liked the island section. Going back to the aquarium, by the way, I didn't feel bad with I kind of felt bad with her seeing Owen, Abby seeing Owen dead, right?
Yeah,
Not with Mel. The one thing that got to me was fucking Alice, dude.
dude,
I
I
didn't
didn't
realize
kill a
until
dog
that moment.
until it made you do that. Alice was the only dog in the game I killed, and I'm upset that it made me do that.
I completely forgot that you killed the dog in the aquarium. So I had just been happy with Alice being like, "Oh, Alice is one of the nice dogs. Oh,
Whole
this is
time
great. I
I
love
was like,
Alice."
damn,
And
this
then when I got back and I saw the dead dog, I'm like, "Oh my god, that dog we killed was Alice." And I felt terrible. Like that was the point where I'm like, when I was shooting dogs fine, by the way. I was just shooting them because I'm like, they're a pain. So I'm
not.
I'm not gonna feel morally bad that I'm killing dogs, right? Because I'm killing humans at this stage. If we're gonna play the moral card, why am I sticking it dogs? I'll save everyone.
Yeah,
Um, but no, so I wasn't bad. But then when I realized that it was Alice, I was like, okay, that one gets me. I'm a horrible person for that one.
yeah.
I was just like, oh god. There's a couple of other characters we should probably talk about. Mainly there's three. We'll go back to the Ellie side of things now that we've talked about a lot of Abby's story. What are your opinions on? Let's talk about the guy that gets the shortest kind of runtime. Really. We did touch on him. How did you feel about Jesse?
He, as far as characters in this game go, he was one of the more had more sympathetic intentions. He just wanted to have his friends' backs and get them out of
Mm-hmm.
trouble, and he got shot in the
Yeah.
face for his troubles.
Yeah, I really liked him, to be honest. Like, he was the one where I was like, you really didn't need to get involved in this. Like, Dina didn't either, right? But
Yeah,
with Jesse, it was just like I felt really bad when he's gone. Like when I was Manny, I was like, I saw it coming because everyone else in your story's dying anyway. Because
yeah,
Abby needs to be left alone, which we'll talk about the confrontation. We haven't talked about the confrontation, so we should talk about that in a bit. Um, But yeah, Jesse was just I liked him as a character. I liked in this game how many companions you had, actually.
yeah. It was nice.
I liked having different companions throughout the whole thing, whether it was Dina early on and then playing with Jesse, or then having Lev or Manny, or just having a load of people around. I was just like, it was nice having a variety in a way. Because the only thing you had Joel and Ellie, obviously, and then sometimes you had Tess early on, and then the only other character that you really hang out with is hang out, quote, yeah, guys, let's hang out is cannibal guy. I don't even remember his name. The guy
Dude,
that Nolan North plays.
I can't remember either what his name
What's his
was.
name? Nolan North Last of Us. This is really professional, by the way.
Yeah,
Nolan. Oh, David.
David.
Yeah.
Okay.
But other than David, you don't really hang out with anyone else. I mean, there's that one scene where you play with Tommy, right? But other than
Yeah.
that, there's really no one. Where I really liked the variety of companions during this game. It made you care more about the characters, even though they were just newly introduced. You know,
Yeah. It
like I
was
didn't care for them. Like, oh my god, not you
not
can't have
him.
killed them, not him. But at the same time, it was like, oh, I kind of feel bad because
Yeah,
I
I kind
liked
of
you as a
felt bad
character. I
because
liked you enough.
he wasn't on a mission of vengeance or anything. He just wanted to make sure his friends were safe.
Yeah, exactly. Which is good intentions. Let's talk about Dina. We haven't talked about Dina. We did talk about her a lot in our first impressions. Mainly because that's the main place that she shows up in. Is the first couple of hours.
Yeah. After that,
Let's talk.
you
Yeah, let's talk about the ending with Dina. How did she feel about Dina overall?
well, she turned out better than I thought she would be. Honestly,
Mm,
like her
same.
dynamic with Ellie was nice. Uh, her not her trying to do everything she could to get Ellie to give up the
Mm.
ghost at the end is understandable.
I
So
feel like she's fully in the right in that
yeah,
scenario, right?
honestly, yeah. Like Ellie actually had something to live for that she could let go at that point, or
Yeah,
she tried
but
to
she
anyway,
couldn't.
but she couldn't.
Yeah,
You know, and I understand why Dina would be upset about that.
I feel it's one of those things where I love the scene between her and Elliot in that point, and they mention Jesse, right?
Yeah,
And Dina has that thing of I already have I already I have to put on a brave face essentially for you and her kid, right?
Yeah.
And it's just one of those. It's just like with how different people respond to loss, right? And I feel like loss is a big factor in this game as well. Like
Okay.
they talk about the yeah, they talk about that revenge is one of the big there's the big kind of um plot point, right, of this entire game. But I think loss is equally as big because this
Yeah.
whole thing starts on a loss. Even Abby's intentions also start on a loss, and there's nothing but loss the entire way. No one gains anything from this experience.
And not a single one.
It's all about loss, whether it's the loss of the people you care about, whether it's the loss of where you live, like the people that you settled with, your previous like life. That's literally everything's gone now for everyone.
Yeah.
And like I really did like what they did with Dina. And finally, we haven't talked about him, but I do want to give a shout out to one of my personally can't talk. One of my personal favorite characters from this game, which I'm surprised about because I'm surprised how much, not how much he was in it, because he is still only in it a small bit, but I
But
liked
how
the
much
role
of
that
an
he had to
impression
play.
he
Tommy,
makes. Yeah.
yeah, I really like Tommy in this game,
Yeah.
like genuinely.
It was his just little bits of characterization he had while he showed up was cool. Like when you're sneaking up on him as Abby, and he's like, "Jesse thinks I don't know what real gold looks like." All that. That was
Yeah,
funny. I enjoyed that.
yeah. I really liked having him as just a thread of when you're trying to follow it, you're trying to find him, trying to find out where he is so you can bring him back, or just how he very much becomes his brother
Yeah.
in a sense of Tommy was always seen to me in the first game as the rational one, the thinker, the one that's like, let's think before we take action, right? Tommy was
Yeah.
always the one that was like,
Definitely.
I know that you want to take Ali to the Fireflies, but this is a really big problem. Like, I don't know if I can do it. We need to send multiple people, right? And he was a real thinker, and he has a family, and he has a town essentially that he runs. So he's got a lot on his plate, and to just have him become this savage and hate-filled brother because of his what happened, like I really liked his shift in dynamic, and it's
And then
that's
he couldn't give it up either. Like to the point where he tried to emotionally blackmail Ellie at the end. Even after
if
if Ellie didn't go, that would have been totally respectable at the end, and he wouldn't have seen it that way. But
if anything, it's if anything, Tommy lost more than everyone in a way. He lost his marriage, he lost his brother, he lost his surrogate niece. He said he essentially he basically puts the Jesse thing on his watch.
yeah,
Like he feels responsible for everything. He feels responsible for his brother's death even more so because he trusted Abby. Like he's lost a lot.
it's also miraculous that he survived. I thought he died
I thought he died. How the fuck did he survive? He got shot in the head. I swear he got shot in the head.
for a second when he showed up at like the house during that epilogue. I'm like, is this suddenly a figment of her imagination? Like for a minute,
Yeah.
I thought that was where they were going, and I wasn't sure how. But
But no, apparently he's like blind in one eye and can't walk properly, but
yeah,
he's alive. I was like, that's miraculous. To be fair, you're lucky that you fucking lived, Tommy. But like I really did like the way that Tommy was handled in this game.
yeah, it
And
was.
I'm also glad that he didn't die because in a sense, like, and this is just me this is just me being evil, right? I think that one of the beautiful things about this game that makes you feel empty inside is everyone's a loser, right? In reality, everyone that lives, whether it be Ellie or whether it be Tommy or if it's even Abby, right, with what she's lost, right?
Yeah,
In a way, they're kind of in a fate that's worse than death.
a lot of them. Yeah,
Death would have been the easy way out in a way for a lot of them, and they're just left empty. And
yeah,
that's why whether people love or hate it, and the more I think about it, the more my emotions change from point to point when I think about everything. It's just why I respect this game's storytelling a lot, even though I don't agree with all of it.
yeah,
That's what I really like respect about it is they went for what they wanted. You know, everyone loses, and hey, I'm okay with that in a weird and twisted way, even though I'm not happy about it. And in many ways, I hate the ending because it's such an empty ending and no one gets what they wanted, and it's all for nothing, which is what revenge is, right? It's all for
yeah,
nothing. But it's so fitting in the way that I can't hate it.
yeah. Like it's done in a way it's interesting that everyone loses in a way that is not just haha everyone died too, because I feel like a lot of times that's what these kind of things go for, or like, revenge stories, you'll have them kill them and feel empty afterwards a lot of
Which
the
they did
times.
do.
Yeah,
Like, for
with
example,
Abby.
Abby was empty, but if anything, that just made it a stronger moment when Ali realized that killing Abby wouldn't
Yeah,
give her the satisfaction. If anything, she had to feel that pain so that Ali didn't, in a way. And it's
yeah,
just, it's what I really respect. Is I do like having this. Hey, they're the two sides of the same coin. One of them has gotten their revenge, and one is trying to get it. So it's like, yeah, there's pacing issues, but also I see
I see what.
basically when you're playing Ellie, you're seeing Abby a couple of months ago,
Yeah,
and it's just, I don't know. The more I think about it, the more I like this game. Do I think it's a masterpiece of storytelling? No,
I still
but
wouldn't
I do
say that,
respect
though,
it
but I
a
have
lot.
respect for it for sure.
Like I respect the first game. I respect this game, and I said it on Twitter, but with with the things that they've done and just the storytelling they've done, I can't think they really did do a service to make a Last of Us sequel. They did their job.
Yeah,
This is it's not what I asked for. I don't think it's what anyone was asking for, but I think it really does stick true to what The Last of Us is, and it's rightfully so the sequel to The Last of Us that I think not necessarily what people wanted,
it's the one that
but what
makes
the
the most
series
sense.
deserved, yeah, and what made sense to do, right?
Yeah.
I don't know, Hunter. Do you have any closing thoughts that you'd like to say before we wrap this up?
No, I think that this game was perfectly fitting as far as a um, next step in The Last of Us, as far as I'm concerned. I've heard the like speculation of a third one. Do you have any ideas what that could lead to, just off of
I
jumping
don't.
out of this? Yeah,
I
neither do I
don't. This
really.
is it's one of those things where it's like I had this conversation with you beforehand where it's like when I finished the first game, I didn't necessarily want answers. I didn't want a sequel because I don't like the ending to the original Last of Us, but
Neither
I
do I.
respect it
But
with
it
it
was like,
just
yeah,
ending, right? Like leave it to the imagination what happens, right?
yeah,
But now that we've got more of it and the fact that they don't play it safe, I'm like, I wonder what they can do in this universe, you know? Like
yeah,
even though I don't agree with all the storytelling and I don't necessarily like it all, I've been mainly positive. I haven't talked about most of the hatred, but that's because if you want to find hatred on this game, you can find it fucking anywhere.
yeah.
So
Just kind of
I
look
thought
around.
I'd be overly positive. If I was to give this game a score, which I don't fucking think of, it'd be like an 8.
Yeah, eight and
It'd
a
be like an 8, 9, 8 between 8, 9ish, closer to 8 than 9, but in that ballpark, right?
yeah,
I definitely say play it.
yeah. I
Genuinely,
recommend
if you have
like
any
these kind of
essence of playing
games.
it, play it, make your own opinion on it. Don't just see
Yeah,
what
don't
the
just
angry people on the internet
let the
think,
people on the internet dictate your opinion.
because I was the exact same way and I played it and I completely 180'd on it. But I just interesting the way this game has made me think, and it sounds so fucking stupid, but it's been a long while where a game has truly made me just have a sit down, just honestly just think about it, right?
Yeah,
Just think about the actions of the characters as actual characters. To have this game that is essentially the color gray, the video game, right? There is no black and white in this video game at all, except maybe the fact that, yeah, the Seraphites are fucking cultists and really bad, and also the WLF as an organization are also really flawed, right? But in terms of actual individual characters, in terms of the main cast, whether it's Abby, Ellie, Joel, or Dina, or any of these main characters, right? It's all in the gray.
yeah,
It just matters what perspective that you're looking at it. If you're looking at Ellie from Ellie's point of view, Abby's a monster, and everyone like Owen and stuff like that are also horrible people because they went and hunted down someone who was trying to redeem themselves, right? As
yeah,
a human being, Joel was trying to redeem himself. But then, if you look at it from the other perspective, Owen's a really nice guy, and Abby learns from this experience and decides that, hey, I just need to become a better person instead of just trying to seek revenge because revenge is not what I was after in the end. Like, it's just looking from another point of view. Do they do it sloppy at times? Yes.
A little bit, yeah.
There's a
Clearly.
point in Seattle Day One that we haven't mentioned where they keep going about, like, someone, I think Abby mentions revenge or whatever, and then Manny like comes out with the most blatantly like fucking on the nose point where it's like, oh, revenge isn't everything, someone else is just going to come after you after that you've gone after them or something like that. And I'm like, yeah, you couldn't be more on the nose with your point
Yeah.
here. But at the same time, when they're not ramming it down your throat and you just are left to just think about the character's actions and what's going to happen, it's just, I found it was really interesting, and it's been a long time since a game has made me think like this about characters in that way, in the grey spectrum of there really not being a villain of The Last of Us 2,
Yeah,
right? There's no bad side
it's
in
just
regards to
the
Abby and
sides are
Ellie.
both bad. It's just
Yeah,
which one you
just
prefer.
and it's from whichever side you looking at it, right? Like
Yeah.
I say, I ended up liking Abby in the end as a character. I'm like, you're as flawed as Ellie.
Yeah.
You killed someone that we deeply cared about, but at the same time, you deeply cared about your father. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Joel wasn't a saint either, That's
yeah,
how that world goes.
it's just, yeah, it's extremely interesting, and I really have enjoyed my time with this game.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's that. Hunter, would you recommend? What do you think? Everyone, is
I
it
I would recommend
worth playing?
playing it. Yeah, like the gameplay improvements are all there as far as they make everything about the gameplay better. And
Gameplay is so fun.
yeah,
Like, honestly, I don't like The Last of Us 1's gameplay, but this one, I've had a lot of fun with it.
yeah. So they make the
Honestly.
gameplay better. They have pretty well curated moments throughout as well, and then
Hmm.
how you're gonna feel about the story is up to you. But if you liked The Last of Us one and are interested in this one, I would say go for it. Just
Yeah.
so that you can at least know for yourself.
You'll genuinely, I feel like whether you like it or not, in the end, whether you like the story or not, in the way the gameplay is truly fun enough for you to just go through it. Like, I honestly think that anyone that had any interest in The Last of Us Part One should at least give this a try. Like, honestly, that you've got no excuse. Even if you wait for all the hate to simmer down and buy it when it's on sale in like a year's time or whatever, eventually go out of your way to play this. Like, I feel like it sounds stupid. Most of the time we don't do this kind of stuff on a spoiler cast, right? But I have a feeling that there might be some listeners that have listened to this entire thing because they put the whole thing off just because of the spoilers and everything like that.
Yeah,
But if you haven't, genuinely, go try it out. Make an opinion for yourself, because the worst thing you can do is just follow the fucking herd, right?
yeah,
Like I say, before this, everyone thought that Ali died, that Abby was a transgender character, that Neil Druckmann mo-capped himself and had sex with Abby in the game, which isn't fucking real. There was some crazy stuff that everyone was saying that was just not true,
oh,
and
jeez.
I just think that there's a lot of good here. Whether you like the story or not, that's different, but it's really is
Yeah,
a really well-made game. Now, should we talk about how Naughty Dog's been really bad with their work ethic and how they've been really grinding their workers? No, that's not great, right? But in
that's
terms of the art that they've produced right now, which is the discussion that we're having, it really should be at least seen for yourself.
yeah.
And I don't mean watch someone else play it. Go and experience it
Nah,
yourself,
go
because
do it yourself, just so
this
that you know, because
this
like
isn't a game that you can watch. It's something you need to play. It's something Troy Baker said, and I thought that was the cheesiest shit ever. But after finishing it, it really is something you need to play for yourself and get your hands on the sticks
yeah,
and go through this torturous game. But with that, that has been our Last of Us 2 spoiler cast. We hope you enjoyed it. Please leave a rating on iTunes if you did, and leave a like rating or whatever on YouTube. You can find us on youtube.com /nothing, because we don't have one, but go to bit.ly/thegiggers
if you
and we
subscribe,
can
that'll help
subscribe
us.
there. Oh, please do subscribe. It'd be pretty great. Hunter, where can people find you when you're not on the podcast?
YouTube.com/ReaperHunter23.
Nice. And you can find me at youtube.com/waterjames. That has been our show. Thank you ever so much for listening. We'll be back on Friday, definitely Friday, because I've already rendered and uploaded the video at this point. So see you Friday for our Xenoblade spoiler cast. But until then, it's been a pleasure, and we'll see you next time for some more Hot Gamers Only. So until then, bye.